Now, Richie, you're obviously doing your bit to ensure that we proliferate the knowledge, understanding, expertise within blockchain. But as we can see, there's a long way to go before this becomes a mainstream technology adoption within pharma. What can we do to advance that level of understanding and examination within pharma now?
So the adoption curve for blockchain in healthcare is not going to be that different from most other industries. I think the first thing is you have to right-click on the area in your brain that has Bitcoin and delete it and then empty the recycle bin, right? In order to really focus on blockchain. Bitcoin is to blockchain what AOL chat was to the internet, just the first instantiation, right? And just like there were multiple internets before, the World Wide Web, there are multiple blockchain instantiations. The Bitcoin blockchain instantiation itself is what is called proof of work, and it's permissionless, which means that just about any person with a computer that can solve algorithms around cryptography can participate in it, and there's not a lot of identity and asset pack behavior inside of it because it's permissionless and proof of work. We can detail that. But think about that as one way of instantiating blockchain. There's a whole different method of instantiating blockchain, which is called proof of stake, where the participants are permissioned and their identity has to be behind it, okay? You could consider it as private-public cloud, okay, if we wanted to oversimplify it. So in the proof-of-stake world, where you see things like Ethereum starting to come together, and you see things like Hyperledger starting to come together, it's less risky and less of that dark web, you know, sort of dark transactional behavior that you can start to build real business processes around it. Specifically to healthcare, I think we're going to have to look for use cases that has a few criterias. So here's how I think you could go about finding if you have a good use case for blockchain today in the healthcare industry. One, if you have a data set that needs to be stored, you have one of 5, okay? Now that's really simple because most data sets you need to be stored. 2, if that data is being written by multiple parties, so different parties contribute to that data, that's probably a better indication that you have a blockchain use case. Okay? 3 is if each record has some additive value where the conclusion that can be drawn from the data set changes every time a new record is added, and so you need quality records that are added to that data set. These are good indicators that you have a good case for blockchain. Because if you don't have these, you could just use regular databases that are integrated together, right? 4 is you have multiple parties that are not very familiar with each other, that needs familiarity to start to exchange these data sets. Think about you're standing up a new trial and you have a whole patient population who you don't have familiarity with them right away, right? You need trust to be manufactured in the system. And the last is that you need some sort of automation inside of the rules of the system where you don't want the validation to be interpreted by each of the party, but it's a part of the platform. For example, I'll use a non-life sciences example to clarify number 5 for you. If you think about Yelp right now and the restaurant industry, right? When someone writes a review for a restaurant, most of the times you don't know who that person is behind the scenes. It's usually like cat lover 713 with a picture of a cat, right? You have no idea who that person is. If Yelp and the restaurant industry would go on a blockchain, the rules would be embedded in such a way that says if you're going to write a review on a restaurant, I need to make sure that I bounce your review off of the credit card company to make sure that you had actually a transaction from that restaurant that day, and then the point of sale system to make sure that you actually ordered the shrimp meal that you're complaining about before you write the review. That's a rule that would be in the restaurant industry blockchain. You can think of those same rules embedded in those use cases within healthcare to start to raise that level of automation. Now you think about healthcare, everywhere from molecule to market, there is data that needs to be persisted. There is data that's being written by multiple parties. There are multiple parties that need access to that data at different points over that time because we have such a long journey. There's an additive value to each of the records written, and there are tons of rules that we spend so much effort around making sure that the rules are followed. I think that's where the use cases will come from.